I was having an interesting conversation with somebody a little while ago, and they said imposter syndrome is impossible to get rid of, and we have to live with it. And I was a bit shocked, actually a bit angry, because I know that's not true. And I was angry because this person was a coach, and they said, you have to live with it. And I was thinking, wow, is that what you tell your clients? So hence this quick video, this training to show you the three reasons why imposter syndrome is actually easy to fix. It's actually quite logical. So it starts off with millions of people suffer from imposter syndrome. Millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. It's incredibly common when they don't need to. And it is the single biggest reason why people underachieve in their careers and in their businesses. I've worked with more people with this who doubt themselves, who think they are not good enough to do something, and they hold themselves back. Now, strangely, it also can create enormous success, because sometimes when you're doubting yourself, especially when you're trying to prove to other people that you're good enough, that you're capable, you can create enormous success, but often what happens is they also create then enormous problems in other parts of their life. So often people can be, very successful in one part of their life, but the rest of their life has huge problems, and they underachieve when they so easily could do well in every area. So it is the single biggest reason that stops people using their skills and abilities and learning new skills and abilities and developing and achieving what they so easily could. So most people recognize that they're holding themselves back, even if they don't call it imposter syndrome. I actually don't like the phrase, but it's the one that everyone uses. So I don't like the phrase imposter syndrome, but most people realize, or when we've had a conversation, yeah, I am. I doubt myself. I don't believe in myself. I'm not good enough. That's not the important thing. Most people realize they're holding themselves back and they get frustrated, and that's why they call me, because they're simply so frustrated with themselves. They just don't know how to fix it. But we do. That's our speciality, and I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So I want to take you through the three reasons to prove that it can be very quickly fixed. So the first one is, let's get straight into it. Having imposter syndrome is not a random thing. It's not something that just happened. Now, you may not consciously know why it's happened, but it's not random. There is a reason, and this is the important reason. You have accidentally created it. And this is the important thing. Your part of your brain accidentally created this way of thinking, which we calls a sabotage loop. Okay, when we just loop around saying the same things and making us behave in the same way, which is not good for us. But you accidentally created it. But there's millions of people who do it because, and this is the other important thing, there's a process that we have in our brain that can accidentally create it. So it's a really, really important thing to understand. If millions and millions and millions of people are doing it, it means that there is a reason why it happens. We don't choose to do it, but it's a very, very easy accidental thing to make happen. And I've just thinking about the clients over the last 6 months. All of them had a reason, something that happened in their past, something they did they don't want to reproduce, that made their brain go, oh, we better make sure that doesn't happen again. And they held themselves back. So the reason is always in there. And we find that within the first 2 hours of working together. Guarantee that. That's easy. And because so many people do it, we know that there is a process that the brain accidentally uses by mistake, which creates it. So everyone's reason is different. Everyone is unique. But the process they use is the same because we're human beings, which makes it actually quite simple to fix. And I'm working with a client at the moment, and the 4 weeks that I put aside to break it, it's already broken. For the last week and a half, we've already been looking into the future, where they're going and what they're wanting to achieve next. So if you understand know the reason, your individual reason, like I said, which happens in the first 2 hours, and you understand the process, which we do, then you can change your imposter syndrome. You can fix it. You can turn it off. So it's not difficult to do. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that you don't do it all of the time. It is very, very rare that you use this imposter syndrome thinking that holds you back, and whatever the reason is, all of the time and in all situations. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's done that in the last 20 years. So even if you use it in a lot of ways, and I was working with a client this morning and they were talking about their behavior, they hold themselves back in a lot of areas of their life and damages their business, but in another area, it doesn't turn on. So therefore, imposter syndrome, like all other thinking, is selective. Sometimes you turn it on and sometimes you don't, which means it's controllable. Think about when you haven't doubted yourself excessively. Now, a little bit of doubt, can I do this? This is new, this is different, is a good thing. But think about all the things you do and allow yourself to do when you know, yeah, I can do that. It doesn't cross your mind to not believe in yourself. So everyone does that. So which means it's selective, which means sometimes you turn it on and sometimes you don't, which means there's a mechanism in there which is controllable. More importantly, you are controlling. Now, you may not understand why or might not understand how. That's my job. Okay, I can show you that. But this is very important. No one ever does it all of the time. Sometimes we let ourselves get so far and then we hold back. So this is why people, it's easy to explain, it's total logic. Well, some people create success in one area of life but not another, because it turns on in one area and not in another. And why they allow themselves to hit a certain level of success but they can't get any further. And I work with so many people who sabotage themselves when they get to a certain amount of salary or a certain level in their business or in any other area of life. And I've done this in many other ways, people's health, and I've tested this over and over again, hundreds of times, thousands of times. And there's a trigger that turns it on and turns it off. So some people create a lot of success in one area but not in another, or they allow themselves to get to a certain level but not any further. They won't step up into the next level of job. They won't move from being an employee into being self-employed. They won't allow themselves to earn a certain money. I remember a client, just off the top of my head, they got to a certain amount of money every month and they sabotaged all the sales calls. So they actively put off people who wanted to work with them because they didn't allow themselves, for whatever reason, I know what the reason was, but I won't say it for confidentiality reasons, they wouldn't let themselves earn more money. So every month they hit a ceiling. And that's because they selectively turned their sabotage thinking on. Yeah, so they turned their sales off. So, a bit daft, isn't it? Now, the next part is if you have inner conflict, and if you're watching this, you do, because I wonder why you'll be watching this. If you are fed up with how you're holding yourself back, how you're not believing in yourself and not allowing yourself to do what you should be doing, or not speaking up and saying what you're good at, not promoting yourself at the right level, whatever way this doubt comes out, if you've got an argument in your head and you're frustrated with yourself, that's a great sign. This is the third proof. Because that argument is inside your head because the real you, your real thinking, wants to get back in control and help you be successful doing what you're capable of doing. If that was not there, the thinking that holds you back wouldn't have anything to argue with. So there's two parts of your brain having an argument, which is really painful and frustrating and scary because you want to move forward and go for that job or get that promotion or start your business or grow your business or build your team or whatever it happens to be. Put your prices up to the right prices. Promote yourself. That was my one. I didn't want to promote myself. Even though I was really good at what I wanted to do, I had this thing where I held myself back from telling people. So that cost me a lot. But I was frustrated because I know I should be and I could be. But they said, no, it's too scary. So if you've got an argument inside your head, that's good. Now, it's painful as hell and it's tiresome to live with and it's very stressful. But if you didn't have that frustration and conflict, you wouldn't care about the fact that you were underperforming. You just wouldn't care. You've got nothing to argue with. You've only got one level of thinking that says, oh, you're rubbish, you're no good. You can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Well, if you didn't have the real you there, you wouldn't argue about that. So you would actually not be bothered by it. So your frustration is evidence of your true value, your capability and your ambition. And I love working with people who are ambitious, but perhaps never told anybody. There's another video on that. So all you need to do is make sure your real thinking is clear to run your career or business. And to do that, you just need to get the sabotage thinking, the imposter syndrome thinking turned off. Just need to turn it off. Remember, it's selective. It's not always on. So if it's not always on, it means you can turn it off. Excellent. It's that simple. So you're not broken. You are not broken. You just have two ways of thinking about the situation you're in. So those two ways are competing. They're in a conflict. They're in argument. So you don't have something to fix because the real you just wants to move forward. And that takes about 4 weeks to turn this off. Predictably, because there's a process. There's a reason it happens. We find that in the first 2 hours. And it takes about 4 weeks to be comfortable in turning it off and not using it and letting the real you come forward. It's that predictable. But that's not the best bit. The best bit is what you then start to do when that is turned off. And that's when the real fun starts to happen. That's when the real return investment, because you've not just turned it off. It's like, I can do this, and people start to change their behaviors. But then what they then do is say, you know what, this is what I really could do. This is what I need to do to catch up because I've held myself back too long. And that's the fun stuff. So we start with, and you always got to start with turning off the imposter syndrome. But the best bit is then what your brain will allow yourself to do. Now, at the moment, if you've got that going on, that's scary to have those dreams. Even dreams and ideas make this wake up and say, no, you can't do it. It's too dangerous, too scary. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough, whatever. But if you've got that conflict, once that imposter syndrome's turned off, your brain says, right, let's get on with it. And then often we work with clients about how they're going to do that. What skills do they need, or what help them form the direction of where they're going? Because sometimes they don't know or they're not sure, but that's always the bit that is the fun bit. So if you're ready to turn off your imposter syndrome for good, most people have had it for years in their lives. And they're surprised when we say you can turn off in 4 weeks. Well, I think I've shown you why. It's not random, it's selective, and you can choose when you turn it on and off. You do that already. Nobody uses it permanently. So therefore, it's controllable. So if you want to learn how to do that and dig into the answer and why you're doing it and how to do that properly, then yes, let us know. Book us a call. Ask about the Alpha program. The Alpha program is to deal with this, to deal with excessive fear, excessive doubt, excessive worry about the consequences. And I've been doing this for 20 years. It's predictable. So here's the email, the inquiries, or you can book in a call straight into my diary, or hit one of the links. There'll be links kicking around somewhere, depending where we're watching this. So you can do exactly that. If you do not want to believe that you can change it, that's part of your sabotage thinking, saying don't change it, which is actually part of the process of the loop. It doesn't want to change it because it thinks it's helping you. But if you're fed up and frustrated enough to do something about it and you realize what it's cost you, then just get in touch. Let's have a conversation. No obligation, no hard sell, won't do any of that sort of stuff. Let's have a chat and let's see what we can do to get you out your own way. And let's focus on then, more importantly, what you can then do. And people who've not, people have been amazed about what they've let themselves to do, huge jumps in their business and their careers. And the reason for that is they should have been there already. They were just actually playing catch up. They just held themselves back when they don't need to. So I hope this has been useful to you. And I'll talk to you soon, hopefully, and we'll get this sorted for you. Let's have a chat. Take care now.